The Netflix series After Show, Beyond Stranger Things, finally revealed how stars Millie Bobby Brown, Finn Wolfhard, Gaten Matarazzo, Caleb McLaughlin, and Noah Schnapp scored their roles on the sci-fi series. It shows not only how little the stars used to be, but also how talented they were at such a young age. In this video, we'll break down exactly how the kids landed their roles. Remember to subscribe to Riveted, and leave a comment to stand a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. First of all, let's shed some light on the genius behind the Stranger Things casting director, Carmen Cuba. Cuba has been the casting director for some of the most innovative projects in recent history, including Ridley Scott's The Martian, Prime Video favorite Red Oaks, and of course, Netflix's Stranger Things. Regardless of the movie or TV show, Cuba manages to find actors who add something unique to their individual roles while also fitting in remarkably well in the group dynamic. The TV Academy rewarded Cuba's excellent work on Stranger Things with a totally deserved Emmy for outstanding casting for a drama series. So, how did she find the kids on Stranger Things? Millie Bobby Brown. One person who instantly made a lasting impression on Stranger Things was Millie Bobby Brown. Her castmates and crew always talk about how she was cast for the role with her incredible acting talents and audition tape, which won over casting directors. An agent who knows Carmen's taste sent her info on Millie, and she was intrigued. Since Millie was based in London, she taped herself, and it was terrific. Cuba described her audition as really emotional and intense, with lots of tears. From there, they had her do additional material, gave her some direction over email, and eventually Skyped with her, then brought her to the US to test with the other kids. Apparently, Millie did the entire Skype in an American accent, and it was so good they didn't even notice until the very end. Millie explained how she had no idea how or what to prepare for, something she said contributed to how Eleven's character eventually came to be. While doing an audition, the casting team prefers testing the emotion, which will be dominant for the character, and for Eleven, that emotion was pain. In Season 3 alone, the telekinetic teen fell in and out of love with Mike, found a new best friend with Max, suffered a truly wicked monster bite, seemingly lost her adopted father Hopper, and may no longer be superpowered. That's a lot for one summer. Over 200 girls auditioned for the role of Eleven, but Millie Bobby Brown was the most convincing. Plus, there was that shout-out from Stephen King, who loved Millie on Intruders, where Millie booked the pivotal role of Madison. The role demanded an incredible range from Brown, requiring her at times to play a young girl with strange dreams to an adult man on a quest for revenge. Did you know that Millie Bobby Brown also auditioned for a role on Game of Thrones? She has never specified the role she wanted, but the rejection left her so downtrodden that she almost gave up acting for good. With no major jump in her career, her family had become so financially strained, they moved back to the UK to live with an aunt. Soon after moving back to England, she got a call to audition for a little show called Montauk, the original title for Stranger Things. And despite her Game of Thrones rejection, she went for it. And the rest is television history. We are sure she used that pain for her audition, which was full of sobs. Millie said in her interviews that her emotions during the auditions were so raw because she was literally on the verge of giving up. Noah Schnapp. When Season 1 first dropped, it seemed like Will would be one of Stranger Things' primary young characters along with Mike, Lucas, and Dustin. Instead, Will's disappearance became a focal point of the debut season in addition to the mystery surrounding Eleven and the unexplained occurrences in Hawkins. Even though the search for Will was a driving force behind the series, the character only appeared a few times. So, how was Noah's audition? We discovered that Joe Keery originally auditioned for the role of Jonathan Byers on Stranger Things, before he eventually got cast as Steve Harrington. Well, Joe isn't the only cast member to have originally auditioned for a different role, because Noah Schnapp did too. Noah Schnapp originally auditioned for the role of Mike, and while Finn perfectly fit the role, the showrunners didn't want to let go of Noah Schnapp. When Noah was called in for auditions, he wasn't happy about the situation. Apparently, during the audition, he had a horrible headache. It was raining, he was all wet, and his ankles were full of mud. He was tired even before he started the audition, and even though he felt like he didn't do his best, the casting team believed in him. While at sleepaway camp, the Stranger Things team called Schnapp and revealed that they wanted him to play Will instead of Mike. The project at the time was still titled Montauk, and Schnapp needed to be reminded about the details of the role. In Stranger Things, Will is a bit weird, especially after being trapped in the Upside Down, and Noah nailed that weird trait even during his audition. Finn Wolfhard. In Stranger Things, Mike, one of the middle schooler protagonists in this tale of a supernaturally spiked 80s horror show, has a lot to deal with, including the disappearance of one of his best friends, his increasingly dangerous attempt to solve the mystery of that disappearance, and his decision to take in a girl named Eleven and allow her to live in his basement without his parents finding out. To play this role, the showrunners needed someone very specific. Finn's first audition was from his bed because he was sick. The tape was also out of focus, but even so, he felt really dynamic and fun, according to the casting director. If the casting team judged his audition from that tape alone, they would have probably dismissed him. But luckily, Finn had auditioned for other shows around the same time. Before they decided that he was perfect for the role, the casting team watched a few other audition tapes he did for other projects. One of them was for the Keery Fukunaga version of it, and they saw that he had great dexterity and range, but also had a unique energy that made every performance specific to just him. From the onset, they could tell that Finn would make a perfect ringleader, and when they had all the kids do the chemistry read with each other, it became even clearer because he basically ran the whole show on his own. Here's a fun fact. Finn almost never made it to Stranger Things, and it's not because his audition was not great. As mentioned, he had also auditioned for it, and the schedules collided. The movie pushing back made the Stranger Things team breathe a lot easier because there was a moment when it felt like Finn might choose a movie with a very special known director over a TV show with two brothers he'd probably never heard of. As Finn Wolfhard started his acting career in 2013, he didn't have many roles in films and television. Portraying Mike Wheeler in Stranger Things was his first major role, a role that still continues to rise him to stardom. Gaten Matarazzo. Gaten revealed that in the past, his condition stood in his way because he could hardly land any roles, but the showrunners of Stranger Things decided to embrace his condition. Matarazzo helps educate people about cleidocranial dysplasia in collaboration with CCD Smiles, a nonprofit organization that raises money and awareness for others with the condition. Gaten first read for Mike, and the casting team was instantly in love, and they knew they needed him in the show. But because Finn seemed somehow more right as Mike, and they didn't yet have a Lucas, they then tried him as Lucas. And of course, they loved him for that too. But when he read for Dustin, he was perfect. The story behind how he actually got considered is pretty hilarious. It really started out when he was stretching in the audition room. When he was doing his stretches, his shoulders kind of touched, and the people in the room were mesmerized. People with cleidocranial dysplasia also have underdeveloped or missing collarbones in most cases, and Gaten is no different. He had to explain the bone condition, and after a successful read, the showrunners wrote in his condition into Stranger Things. They asked Gaten if it was okay if the kids in the show bullied him because of it, and Gaten agreed because it was totally realistic. So when Gaten was cast as Dustin, the show's writers decided to add that bullying scene into the first season. McLaughlin. 6 months after his final Lion King performance as young Simba, Caleb scored an audition for a new Netflix series. Well, it wasn't that easy. Caleb auditioned for numerous shows in the 6 months, and every time he was rejected. He actually told his mom that he didn't want to audition for Stranger Things because he feared he would just be rejected again. After a lot of thought, he decided to audition anyway, and that decision changed his life forever. According to the Montauk pilot script, Lucas's original surname was Conley. His parents were described to be wealthy, though they didn't have a good marriage. However, this relationship has been partly shifted to Mike's parents. As mentioned earlier, Gaten Matarazzo also read for the role of Lucas, but after seeing Caleb, the showrunners were sold. He was perfect for the role. Lucas kept his friends grounded in the plausible and pragmatic. Even during fantastical D&D campaigns, Lucas was hesitant when speculating about the more unlikely events and scenarios. His sustained realist approach, even during unfathomable situations, indicated that he took the task of finding Will incredibly seriously, and he was determined to find him. He was initially suspicious of Eleven, dismissing her as a psycho. Although Dustin and Mike made efforts to become friendlier, Lucas kept some distance from her, viewing her as a distraction from the search for Will. It was clear from his audition that Caleb could effectively play the role of Lucas. Plus, diversity is also something the showrunners needed to consider. Lucas was also the only main character to be dark-skinned until his sister joined the main cast in Season 3. Dacre Montgomery. Montgomery auditioned for the part of the Hawkins newcomer by dancing around to Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf. He made a little short film with an opening score and title credits, and he read both of the scenes he was given. Then he danced in a G-string to the song. And right there, the cast team knew they had found their guy. Dacre joined the series as Billy, a mullet-rocking bully who seems plucked right out of a classic 80s high school flick. Billy might not be quite as sweet as, say, Jonathan or even Steve, but he's certainly entertaining in his villainy. When he was introduced in Stranger Things Season 2, Billy was something of a two-dimensional bad boy. He was racist and homophobic, abusive to his stepsister, and determined to flirt with danger. There's very little to recommend him except for his sense of style. Luckily, Dacre was able to portray exactly what the casting directors needed during his audition. While talking about his excitement in one of his interviews, Dacre said, "It was kind of crazy. I got a call and I was supposed to do a test the next week. I Skyped the Duffer Brothers on Sunday and got a call on Monday that I got the part. So I was in Australia, and 3 weeks later, I moved to America." Montgomery was aware that his audition could have gone in a totally different direction when he went off the grain, but he was willing to take the chance. Billy may seem like your typical 80s jerk, but Montgomery insists that there's something deeper to his character than just cruelty to his sister Max and jean jackets. Even after the casting, Dacre was so invested in his character, and he made it very difficult for the showrunners to cut him out. After a series of deliberations, they decided to redeem the bully in the show. Joe Keery. As mentioned earlier, Joe Keery first auditioned for Billy. While speaking about his original audition, Joe told Vulture, "Pretty basic, it's kind of funny. I sent a tape in, didn't really hear anything for a while, and then 2 months later, they were like, they want you to tape for this other role. I taped for Jonathan originally, and then taped for Steve, and then Skyped the brothers, and then waited 2 weeks, and then found out that I got it. To be fair, Joe already knew going into the audition that he wasn't quite right for Jonathan, but when he read for Steve, it all sort of fell into place. And that brings us to the end of the video today. Don't you just love the incredible characters? Do you want to see more? Well, subscribe. This has been Riveted, and we publish amazing videos daily.